creates a seismic shift in power. It turns women from beneficiaries to contributors to leaders. This is exactly what is needed if we are to make progress on sustainable development. It is an all-community effort that must be advanced through dialogue and understanding. The polycrises we face have no boundaries, and they do not discriminate between genders. Climate change, pandemics, conflicts, they impact all of us. Yet, too often, women are not part of the solution. Rather, they are marginalized in decision-making spaces. In leaving out half of society, we are clipping our own wings. Without women as leaders, as innovators, as drivers of change, without women equally at the table, there will be no prosperity, no progress. It is as simple as that. Colleagues, many of you here today, like me, also hold immense privilege. The private sector has an opportunity to shift the balance. How and where your money is invested matters. Your company values matter. Where governments work on legislation and policies, the private sector can support in implementing and leading through innovation. The world has changed significantly since Gandhi gathered people in dialogue at the ashram not far from here. New technologies and AI have changed human interaction. They have also brought about tremendous progress. The private sector drives much of this, and it is something you should be proud of. But there is also significant responsibility in that. We see, for example, that technologies that are developed purely from a male lens can, in fact, be lethal for women. Crash test cars dummies, for example, were designed for average male body. This meant that when a woman is involved in a car crash, she's 47% more likely to be seriously injured compared to a man. Imagine that. If a woman was a part of the design team, or if science was not influenced by male biases, lives could quite literally have been saved. It took this very grim statistic and a female scientist for change to happen. Colleagues, the G20 is an opportunity to advance change, but we can only do this together. We need the policy and lawmaking of governments, their political will and leadership. We need the energy, activism, and spirit of civil society and the women's movement, whose courage continued to inspire me daily. As the private sector, we need your resources, innovation, and commitment to change. And we need all of this in community, grounded in dialogue. It is only through these multi-stakeholder platforms that we can advance together. And unless it is together, there is no advancement. Since arriving in Gandhinagar, I have received wonderful, warm welcomes by people and by the signs that dot the road to this convention center. One phrase has stuck with me, the motto of this G20: one earth, one family, one future. Let me add to that, one chance. We have one more chance to set the course right, to get back on track to a future that is sustainable and where we, all of us, and more resilient shocks, let us seize the chance and let us recognize that the key to doing so lies in gender equality. Join me in sharing our privilege and in advancing a brighter future for all. I thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I'd like to now invite the CEO of Niti Aayog, Mr. B.V.R. Subramaniam, to please give a special address.
Thank you.
respected Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel ji, respected Minister Smriti Irani ji, respected Minister Mahendra Bhai ji from Gujarat, Dr. Sangeeta Reddy, Mr. Mohammad Nasiri, other members on the dais and delegates. It's an extreme honor to be with all of you today at this G20 Empowered Summit. And it's fascinating to see the wide diversity of people who are in the room. And it's a sheer pleasure to be with all of you here today. Why women are important is something to ponder about. I'm not going to go into the statistics. It's all there. But it's not only a mathematical thing, it's also civilizational. I mean, the first spiritual power that humankind probably prayed to was Mother Goddess. And almost every civilization, every culture has revered women as divine, as spiritual, as the life force, and somebody who creates, sustains, and nourishes the world. I mean, at least in our civilization, most of you would be familiar. The prayer which is recited, and when you pray to Ma Shakti, when we say, Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Shakti Rupena Sanstita Namastasye 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 Namo Namaha. What does it mean in English? O Divine Mother, who is present in all of us in the form of life force and in the form of power and energy. So this is the energizing force behind the world, and that's what women are. The world exists because of them. They are the driving force, and I'm sure the multiple cultures that are there in this room all have their own versions of this, recognizing the importance of women as agents, not just of change, but of sustenance and creation in this world. And I think that's something we all have to recognize. And it's in that context I'll say that G20, which has 8 priorities, has actually listed women as one of their priority areas. And I think it's a recognition of this reality, which is very, very ancient globally. I'd just like to point out there are major transformations happening across the world as far as women are concerned. It will vary from country to country, but from society to society. But in an Indian context, I mean, one of the transformations which people are not realizing is, just in the last few years, the number of women in college education, higher education has exceeded men for the first time in Indian history. That's a major transformation. What does it portend for the future? This has immense potential. And it's not just in humanities or business sciences. It's also in STEM areas that women are actually catching up. And even there, about 40% are already women. And as we go forward, you're probably going to see women exceeding men, even in those areas. This is the change and the tilt that is happening, and that's something we need to recognize. Having said that, then the question arises, why are we focusing on entrepreneurship? Men have traditionally had a patronizing attitude towards women, Actually, women are entrepreneurs in their day-to-day lives. In houses, they take decisions. They take decisions on how children are to be brought up. The first person any child actually goes to, even when they're adults, for advice or help is their mother. So, they are entrepreneurs in multiple ways, be it as farmers, be it as, small entrepreneurs. So therefore, I think recognizing the entrepreneurship role which women have, I think it's a fascinating idea. How do you empower them? And that's what I think this group has been looking at, and raise them to become, top business leaders, top entrepreneurs across the world. I mean, as you go through the day, and I've seen the program, it's fascinating the kind of subjects that are being covered, leadership roles, using digital public infrastructure for financial inclusion of women, how do you bring in tech equity, entrepreneurs. It's a recognition that there are a lot of barriers that women need to cross if they have to actually succeed in a quote-unquote a male-dominated world. I think those barriers are lifting, but it also requires concerted effort on the part of government, businesses, individuals, and women leaders to help other women break these barriers and move the envelope and the boundaries further. In that context, I limit myself to the Women's Entrepreneurship Platform, whose mentorship module is going to be released by our Honorable Minister today. I mean, Niti Aayog has done a study on what do women entrepreneurs face in terms of challenges as they go along. And we realize that there are information asymmetries which women run into. They have to prove that much more to get any kind of help. They miss a lot of support and mentoring that is needed for them to succeed. And they miss international networking, international exposure to actually succeed. So I think while we need to address these issues, and I think the mentorship module which is going to be released today is going to be a big, big step forward in enabling budding, small, young entrepreneurs from women to actually become large and grow. And I think this particular module, which has been developed under the guidance and leadership of the Ministry of Women and Child Development and G20 Empower Group, and which is being launched by the Minister today, it is a major, major step forward. The significance of this may be missed today, but as we go along, I'm sure this has the potential to be actually transformative, and I'll say about that in a minute. Now, this is a fabulous example of digital public infrastructure, which is another theme of the G20 this year. How this model, which is scalable, which is repeatable, can be used actually to empower men across the world, particularly in the business sphere. It is driven by 3 different Shaktis as ideals, Ichha Shakti, Gyan Shakti, and Karma Shakti. I'll just translate. Ichha Shakti, the power of motivation. How the Gyan Shakti, how does it tackle the gap in knowledge, the information asymmetry that is there, and Karma Shakti, in terms of actually hand-holding women to cross barriers as they try to grow enterprises. And I think the focus of this is peer mentoring. It's about other entrepreneurs who have been successful, helping other women entrepreneurs cross barriers, cross challenges as they go along. I think that's very important. And it's not only by women. It's also for men to become mentors. And I think it's the, as the buzzword is he for she. Men can also be as helpful as women are in helping women entrepreneurs cross various barriers. The WEP's mentorship module, as it grows, I urge everybody in this room, across the world, across all countries and continents, to support it, expand it. See that there are versions of this in every country of the world. Realize the transformative potential that womankind has for this world. Grab the opportunity that is given by Nari Shakti to actually be an agent of change and development across the world, an agent of peace as well. It's a well-known fact that women focus far more on peace-loving activities than men do. So I think a society where women are leaders, where women are entrepreneurs, where women have an equal or a large stake in how decisions are taken, take decisions based on other factors. I think that's very, very important. I just go back to that young Pakistani girl, Malala Yousafzai, who said, there is nothing that a terrorist or an extremist is more frightened than a girl with a book. That's the power of women. And I think that is something that is going to be unleashed by this network. I only hope that as we go along, this network, this mentorship module creates more and more circles of women entrepreneurs, women mentors, reaching out to women, not just at this level, but women entrepreneurs exist at multiple levels, from the street vendors, from the street cart pullers, the small businessmen, budding girls and women in schools and colleges who are thinking of becoming entrepreneurs. May these circles become large and they become a flood, which will be a major force of change and peace in the world. I wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. May I now invite the Honourable Minister of State for Women and Child Development, Dr. Munchpara Mahendrabai, to please address the gathering.
Honorable Chief Minister of Gujarat, Sri Bhupendra Bhai Patel ji, Honorable Minister of Women and Child Development and Ministry of Minority Affairs, Srimati Smriti Jubin Irani ji, Honorable PVR Subramaniam ji, Honorable Mohammad Nasir ji, Honorable Lakshmi Syam Sundar ji, Seema ji, Mona Khandar ji, Indivar Pandey ji, Sangeeta Reddy ji. Distinguished speakers from the G20 countries, guest countries, and international organizations, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, good morning, namaskar to all of you. It gives me immense pleasure to address this esteemed gathering at G20 Empower Summit in Gandhinagar, Gujarat state of India. I congratulate you all for the progress made thus far. The Empower initiative brings together members from the private sectors, international organizations and non-government organizations to reaffirm their commitment to discuss promising practices and critical issues that will close the gender gap and address issues related to women's empowerment and women-led government. The Empower Alliance focus on action in the areas that would have a transformative impact on accelerating progress towards achievement of all sustainable development goals, including digital transformation, gender equality, and implementing sustainable, inclusive, and just transitions globally. Under India's G20 presidency, digital skilling underpins the three priority areas of education, leadership at all levels, and entrepreneurship. In the context of rapid digital transformation of economy and societies, it becomes more urgent to provide women equal access to digital infrastructure, skills, and information to enable their participation in digital economy. Knowing the digital gender divide is a crucial for empowering women to contribute more effectively to economic growth, and for that, we need to focus on improving women's access to basic and advanced digital resources, education, entrepreneurship opportunities, and leadership role of women and girls. There is also felt need by all G20 countries to collect gender disaggregated data to understand the dynamics of the digital gender gap and to ensure strategic focus to address this gap. Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Bhai Modi ji envision a new India where women are equal partner in the development process. To that end, India believes that education and skill development are the best investment for the socio-economic upliftment of women through initiatives like the National Education Policy, which prioritize gender equity and quality education for all. Significant strides have been achieved in shrinking the gender gap in education with significant increase of gross enrollment ratio in higher education. The Skill India Mission and National Skill Development Policy focus on enhancing women's employability and economic productivity. So far, more than 10 million girls have been trained under this mission, including training in future of jobs like robotics, artificial intelligence, drone technology, etc. This has led to empowerment of women and girls to increase their participation in labor force as well as start their own business with newly acquired skills. Schemes like Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana and Stand Up India supports women in setting up their own enterprises. 230 million bank accounts were opened by women under what was world's largest financial inclusion program, the Jan Dhan Bank program. In every sphere, women are at forefront of leadership in India, including women in space. They are playing a pivotal role in shaping India's destiny. Several women scientists played a significant role in India's maiden Mars orbiter mission or Mangalyaan, including building and testing the scientific instrument at Space Application Center. India has also implemented various schemes to empower women socially, economically, and politically, such as housing scheme targeted at women, the National Social Assistance Program that provides financial assistance to elderly, widows, and persons with disability in the form of a social pensions. Enabling provision in labor codes and other initiatives promote women's participation in various sectors and create congenial work environment for them. We hope that best practice shared between India and other G20 countries will further advance the cause of women's empowerment and women-led development worldwide. It is platforms such as the G20 that have catalytic effect for action-oriented commitment to make women-led development a reality. I am sure that the private sector, governments, international organizations, institutes at all levels, and individuals will continue the efforts taken under India's G20 presidency and the Empower initiative to operationalize the vision and commitment to accelerate progress on gender equality. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now a few elements that we would like the Honorable Minister to please release. We begin with requesting the Chair of Empower, Dr. Sangeeta Reddy, to please propose the adoption of the Empower communique. May I request that the communique is brought up? Quickly. Copies for everybody to hold up. The Empower communique, ladies and gentlemen. We've also got the KPI dashboard, which I'd like to request Ms. Yesi Yosetia, Director and Chief Digital Transformation and Enterprise Business Officer at Satya, Indonesia. Yeah, she's here. If I could request you, Yesi, to please present the KPI dashboard to the Honorable Minister. From the side. Come here. Just move it that side. Just go around from there. Go around from there. Go around from there quickly. Photographers, kindly bear with us. We'll just get everybody to have their copies. This is the KPI dashboard. To present the G20 Empower Playbook, I'd like to now request Ms. Michiko Achilles, the Director Sumitomo Mitsui, Special Advisor, City of Yokohama, to please come up onto the dais. Ms. Achilles, onto the dais. We'll get the playbook up for you. Well, women do carry more than half of the sky, so the best practices playbook and the digitized playbook. We'd like to now request the Honorable Minister to please use the remote that we have up there to launch the Tech Equity Platform, the Digital Inclusion Platform, and the Mentorship Platform. You can see it up on your screens. Thank you. I'd like to request now Dr. Reddy to please present the revised Empower Pledge to the Special Advisor to the Executive Director, UN Women, Mohammed Nachiri. So the pledge is up on the screen. Thank you very much. I'd like to now request the Honourable Minister for Women and Child Development and Minority Affairs, Ms. Smriti Zubin Irani, to please give the keynote address.
गुजरातना मुख्यमंत्री आदरणीय भूपेन्द्रभाई, महिला एवं बाल विकास मंत्रालय में राज्य मंत्री आदरणीय महेंद्रभाई, distinguished delegates, distinguished chairs, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, આપ સૌનું ગુજરાતમાં સ્વાગત છે. The Empower Alliance is an alliance not of the powerful, but those who are empowered and pass the light forward. It is an alliance that endures, an alliance that reflects realities, is a harbinger of solutions, and aligns individual, social, and national interests with responsibilities. It's a platform that delegates, engages, and gives birth to a pathway to a future that is not only digital, as was visible today, but also a future that embraces equity along with equality. A distinguished colleague from the UN Women today, a gentleman I'm sure besieged with many a pleas every day that he spends at work and off it, when told how to make way for more and more women in society, was kind enough to say that he would be happily giving up certain privileges if it means we can make more space for women. I would, on behalf of all the women in the room, tell you, sir, we don't demand as women that men be disenfranchised of any privilege. Rather, what women are assuring is that they, as individuals, and their contributions to their economies and social fabrics and nation states is counted for at par with men. Since we know what it feels like to be disenfranchised, since we know what it feels like to be stripped of so-called privileges, we would not like you to suffer the same. But what women very wisely, astutely, and incessantly say today is that don't make me a priority only because you have no other option. Make me a priority because we are great investments. Make me a priority because many histories have been unkind to us. Make me a priority if you want to grow with equity and equality. And make me a priority if you want an empowered future. I would at the onset like to compliment the grace and dignity with which Ms. Sangeeta Reddy has chaired the Empower family. To have 263 delegates from 18 G20 countries and 7 guest countries, to do 3 in-person meetings, 86 virtual meetings, to bring together 151 organizations for something that she very nicely and in a dignified fashion names a playbook, is a manifestation not only of her grace, but also how women can rule with an iron fist when the glove looks velvet. I must compliment especially the playbook that was given to us. Thick in volume, heavy in weight, but limited. And I use that word very cautiously, limited, because there are many stories where women have been empowered at the grassroots that haven't found a voice yet. And that is why, Sangeeta ji, I would like to specially compliment the Empower group that has been led by you, which has given for the first time a special place to women at the grassroots. Those are stories that never found a voice at high tables. Those are stories that were never counted. Those were individual successes, solutions, and challenges that were never shared for the benefit of every segment of society. Today, as you gather in the state of Gujarat, and as has been eloquently highlighted by my colleague again from the UN Women, you come to the state of Bapu, but you also come to the state of Sardar. A legend who brought together many in a fragmented demography under one constitution, under one flag. And I think the beauty that one can, upon reflection of Sardar Patel's contribution to my nation, is that multiple voices found a constitutional reason to survive. Multiple languages spoke in one voice. Multiple cultures thrived because they were bound under not only the grace of law, but there was also a collective decision to thrive in diversity. And that is what the Empower Alliance of 2023 under India's presidency has brought to the international tables. Diversity, responsibility, but also acceptance of divergent views. When you talk about acceptance, I'm extremely grateful that the self-help group Revolution of India has found reason to be celebrated during India's G20 presidency. Today, we have close to 8 million self-help groups, which manage close to $34 billion worth of monetary value every year. And this is an ecosystem of close to 80 million women. They may never find a voice, again, amongst leaders who speak of financial futures. But I'm grateful that the Prime Minister of India has acclaimed them as the bedrock of India's grassroots monetary power. It is a happy coincidence that is the very state of Gujarat which was witness how for the first time industry and self-help groups were brought closer together so that women at the grassroots also have traction with the manufacturing part of our economy. And that is why today, while strategies in the communiqué have been professed, I am particularly in a position to give thanks to Ms. Reddy, her leadership, and her team for bringing on the main table conversation about women who contribute at the grassroots but never get counted in global indices. Similarly, as Secretary Women and Child Development had said, that today we in India witness financial revolution in the SME segment, where out of the 320 million loans given by our financial institutions, 70% of the beneficiaries are women. Not only SME segment, but also the middle-sized enterprises under the stand-up scheme, as has been enunciated by the Secretary, have found that 80% of the beneficiaries are women. However, what brings me great joy is that these unknown women, these untold stories, now thanks to the Empower team, led again under India, have now found a voice in the Empowered Alliance. My gratitude is reiterated also for the equity that you bring as a contribution. I am hopeful that our friends across the G20 universe and those that the G20 universe seeks to service will benefit greatly from it. Ladies and a smattering of gentlemen, I am well aware that this room is a bit disbalanced from a perspective of gender. We have tried to bring a little bit of a balance, if you see, on stage. For the 6 men that sit here, there are 3 women on stage. We are not counting the gentleman seated at the back because he would not prefer to be recognized as per his gender but his service. But that alone, I think, is one of the significant changes that we hope to bring. That not only the stage, but a day comes when even the audience comprises of men and women in a balance, because women's agenda is not only the agenda of women alone. Today, why is it not the agenda of women alone? Can be succinctly said if one looks at research across the globe. McKinsey, for instance, had said that women with increasing incomes invest twice the amount men do in their families and local communities. McKinsey, as far back as 2015, had said that if in the labor market women find equal space as men, the contribution to global economies, especially the GDP, would be something close to $28 trillion. Much has been said, much is left to do. As a proud Indian today, not only do I again compliment India's presidency, which has brought to the fore a tectonic shift in how women are to be perceived, that we are not those who seek the refuge of benevolence, that we stand shoulder to shoulder, head to head with men as contributors to our countries, to our societies. And that is why I express my deep gratitude to the Honorable Prime Minister for bringing women-led agenda to the mainstay of India's G20 presidency. I am mindful that there are many women of repute in this room. My colleagues in India from UN Women, my colleagues from UNICEF, and some women who have given such distinguished service to my country that not much is even written about them. I call out Soumya ji, who's in the audience. In the health sector, led from the front on many a global best practices. I'm prouder still of women at ISRO who have led our mission to Mars. Even Chandrayaan that orbits finds a mission director who's female. And that is why when CE Niti Aayog spoke about women graduates and women's inclination to science, I am gladder yet that now in the area of STEM, 45% of the graduates happen to be women, but it still leaves me 5% of that gap that needs to be filled. Like I said, much has happened, much needs to be done, but at least it is well begun. Lastly, I would say this, quoting my favorite poetess, Maya Angelou. She said, "You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dirt, I'll rise. Rise because the time is right." Compliments, congratulations. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Madam Minister. I'd like to now request the Honourable Chief Minister of Gujarat, Shri Bhupendrabhai Patel, to please address the gathering.
राज्य के पाटनगर गांधीनगर में आयोजित G20 बैठक के तहत एम्पावर समिति W20 के उद्घाटन सत्र में मेरे साथ मंच पर उपस्थित केंद्रीय मंत्री श्री स्मृति ईरानी जी, केंद्रीय राज्य मंत्री डॉक्टर मुजपुरा जी, नीति आयोग के सीईओ श्री BVR सुब्रमण्यम जी, UN वुमेन के चीफ ऑफ स्टाफ की श्री मोहम्मद नासिर, केंद्रीय सचिव श्री इंदेवर पांडियन जी, G20 एम्पावर के अध्यक्षा श्री डॉक्टर संगीता रेड्डी जी, अग्र सचिव श्री मोना खंदार, फिकी के प्रेसिडेंट श्री सुब्रकांत पांडा, उपस्थित अधिकारीगण, आमंत्रित महानुभाव, प्रेस मीडिया को मित्रों, सभी को मेरा नमस्कार। महात्मा गांधी, सरदार वल्लभ भाई पटेल और हमारे ग्लोबल लीडर माननीय प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र भाई की भूमि गुजरात में आप सबका स्वागत करता हूं। यह हम सभी के लिए गर्व की बात है कि भारत के विजनरी लीडर और प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र भाई मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में भारत को G20 की प्रेसिडेंसी मिली है। गुजरात ने G20 के तहत अब तक कई मीटिंग्स का सफल आयोजन किया है। इसी कड़ी में आज गुजरात की राजधानी में सर्वांगी विकास में महिलाओं की भागीदारी पर चर्चा के लिए W20 यानी वुमेन 20 का आयोजन किया जा रहा है। समावेशी आर्थिक विकास के लिए महिलाओं की भागीदारी बहुत ही जरूरी है। वुमेन पार्टनरशिप से ही विकास सस्टेनेबल और इक्विटेबल बना रहेगा। इस विषय पर विचार मंथन और परामर्श के लिए इस G20 एम्पावर समिति का आयोजन किया गया है। भारत के यशस्वी प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र भाई मोदी जी ने महिला सशक्तिकरण की दिशा में देश को एक नई राह दिखाई है। उनके 9 वर्षों के कार्यकाल के दौरान भारत ने महिला उत्थान की राह में कई सीमा चिन्ह पार किए हैं। देश में लगभग 3 करोड़ 18 लाख से अधिक बालिकाओं के सुकन्या समृद्धि खाते खोले जा चुके हैं। देश की महिलाओं को आर्थिक मजबूती देने के लिए मुद्रा योजना के तहत 27 करोड़ महिला लाभार्थियों को लोन की सुविधा दी गई है। भारत सरकार द्वारा मान्यता प्राप्त स्टार्टअप्स में 50% स्टार्टअप देश की महिलाओं लीड कर रही हैं। आज के युग में महिलाएं संगीत, लेखन, कला, राजनीति, स्पोर्ट्स, साइंस, टेक्नोलॉजी, बैंकिंग, फाइनेंस, सिक्योरिटी और स्पेस जैसे सेक्टर में आगे बढ़ रही हैं। महिलाओं और आगे बढ़े इसके लिए प्रधानमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में गुजरात निरंतर प्रयत्नशील है। गुजरात में महिलाओं को समान अधिकार मिले हैं। जिला पंचायत, तालुका पंचायत, ग्राम पंचायत या स्थानीय स्वराज के निकायों में महिलाओं को 50% आरक्षण दिया जा रहा है। महिलाओं के सक्रिय भागीदारी के परिणाम स्वरूप गुजरात का डेयरी सेक्टर दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा कोऑपरेटिव मूवमेंट बन गया है। यह राज्य की महिलाओं के प्रशासनिक और प्रबंधक कौशल्य का उत्तम उदाहरण है। गुजरात में कार्यरत अमूल डेयरी दुनिया के सबसे बड़ी सहकारी संस्था में से एक है। मुझे यह कहते हुए खुशी हो रही है कि समाज के अलग अलग वर्गों के लिए विभिन्न विकास योजनाएं शुरू की गई हैं। राज्य सरकार महिलाओं के सशक्तिकरण और समग्र विकास के लिए संकल्पबद्ध और प्रयत्नशील है। माननीय प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र भाई मोदी जी ने गुजरात के मुख्यमंत्री के रूप में अपने कार्यकाल के दौरान गुजरात को भारत का ग्रोथ इंजन बनाया। प्रधानमंत्री जी ने महिला सशक्तिकरण और सर्वांगी विकास को साकार करने के लिए जेंडर इक्विटी पॉलिसी और जेंडर रिस्पॉन्सिव बजट जैसे न्यू आइडियाज को लागू किया है। 2014 में जेंडर बजट पहल की शुरुआत करने वाला गुजरात देश का पहला राज्य है। महिला विकास से राज्य का विकास, इस अभिगम को सार्थक बनाकर आज गुजरात देश का एक अग्रणी राज्य बन गया है। गुजरात में महिला सशक्तिकरण के लिए हेल्थ, सिक्योरिटी और एजुकेशन को प्रायोरिटी देकर हम आगे काम कर रहे हैं। ग्रामीण महिलाओं को आर्थिक आधार देने हेतु 25 लाख सखी मंडलों की 26 लाख ग्रामीण बहनों के हाथों में 1600 करोड़ के कारोबार दिए हैं। प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र भाई मोदी जी ने अपने मुख्यमंत्री कार्यकाल के दौरान गर्ल चाइल्ड एजुकेशन ड्राइव शुरू की। इसी के परिणाम स्वरूप गर्ल लिटरेसी रेट 70% से ज्यादा और स्कूल एनरोलमेंट 90% से ज्यादा हो गया है। क्लास केजी से पीजी तक गर्ल एजुकेशन को प्रमोट करने के लिए कई इंसेंटिव दिए जा रहे हैं। मेडिकल एजुकेशन के लिए मुख्यमंत्री कन्या केलवनी निधि और दूसरे असिस्टेंस के अंतर्गत 27 लाख की सहायता दी जाती है। महिलाओं एवं बच्चों को समग्र विकास के लक्ष्य को हासिल करने के लिए पिछले साल की तुलना में 42% की बढ़ोतरी के साथ इस साल बजट में प्रावधान किया गया है। गुजरात में उद्योग में महिलाओं को सशक्त बनाने के लिए सानंद में महिला इंडस्ट्रियल पार्क की स्थापना की गई है। गुजरात सरकार ने महिलाओं की सुरक्षा के लिए अभियम 181 महिला हेल्पलाइन, सी टीम, महिला सेल और पुलिस स्टेशन बेस्ड सपोर्ट सेंटर शुरू किए हैं। गुजरात में नवरात्रि के त्योहार के दौरान देर रात तक महिला गरबा खेलकर अकेली सुरक्षित अपने घर पहुंचे, ऐसा सिक्योर एनवायरनमेंट हमने राज्य में बनाया है। हमने गुजरात की माता बहनों को विकास में शामिल करके उनका आर्थिक सशक्तिकरण कर और महिला वर्ग में प्रति व्यक्ति आय को बढ़ाकर देश में महिला सशक्तिकरण में रोल मॉडल स्थापित किया है। हम सब का लक्ष्य वसुदेव कुटुंबकम की भावना को विश्व स्तर पर ले जाकर विश्व को एक परिवार बनाना है। मैं इस अवधारणा में महिलाओं की भागीदारी को मजबूत बनाने के आह्वान के साथ अपनी वाणी को विराम देता हूं। धन्यवाद। भारत माता की जय। वंदे मातरम। जय जय गरवी गुजरात।
Thank you very much, Chief Minister, sir. I'd like to now call upon the Chair, G20 Empower, Dr. Sangeeta Reddy, to please make the closing remarks.
Ladies and gentlemen, dignitaries on the dais and in the audience, dear friends, and enlightened individuals who sit in this room with a certain purpose and a cause, good morning and namaste. I welcome you to this pivotal G20 Empower, where we collectively acknowledge the need for gender equality and women empowerment. And as I stand here, we've heard so many enlightened people, so much important thoughts, so much inspiration from our Honorable Minister, an outstanding series of initiatives that the Honorable Chief Minister spoke about, of initiatives in his state. And I'm reminded of Malcolm Gladwell's intriguing hypothesis that he put forth in his book, Blink, because Gladwell proposed that there exists a remarkable ability within certain individuals to intuitively grasp the truth and almost possess a hidden sixth sense. People in this room, you possess that intuitive sixth sense to reflect upon and understand. Can I have my slides, please? To understand that as the world is changing, as progress comes forth from AI and artificial intelligence, in the blink of an eye, you know that women are transforming. Whether it's in industry, they're going to space, they're creating self-help groups, they're contributing to the economy, and they are societal architects and cultural custodians all at the same time. They contribute 50% of the world's population, and yet gender equality in the labor force, as our Honorable Minister said, could add $28 trillion. Can I have the clicker myself? It could add $28 trillion to the economy. And keeping that in mind, and the fact that there is so much to be done, I'm grateful for the opportunity given by our ministry, our Honorable Minister, and our chairs of G20 Empower to create this initiative which carries on the mission of G20 Empower under the guidance of the Honorable Prime Minister, where he not only made women as one of the main agendas, but also gave the world this thought process that in India's presidency, we will focus on one earth, one family, and one future. I want to say thank you. Thank you to everyone who has been a part of this initiative, our incredible co-chairs who have come together and made a difference, who have supported so many changes and so many additions that India wanted to do. Whether it was bringing women-led development into the lexicon of G20 Empower, adding the SME, enhancing and digitizing the playbook. I'm here today to share some of this journey, but first, to thank our Honorable Ministry. The Minister, as you heard, is a source of inspiration. She not only leads from the front, she guides, and then she's 20 steps ahead of you all the time. She is ably supported by our Secretary, who finds a way to bridge our aspirations and what is technically possible, and of course our additional Secretary, Aditi ji, who really makes so many things happen. I'm grateful to all the agencies, UN Women, BCG, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and of course FICCI, who stood by and really made all this enabled. I'm especially grateful to so many of our speakers and delegates who have come, some who have flown for just 18 hours from all the way from New York, others like Samya, who holds such an important position and are standing here or sitting here because of this cause, and many, many others who I really can't name, but each one of you have a story of empowerment, and I just want to say thank you. Thank you, because I know that in the blink of an eye, all of you know that we're not here for ourselves. We're not here for this program. We're not sitting on this stage because we just want to create something. We are here to bring women who are not in this room into this room, and to bring women who are capable of being on this stage onto this stage. There is so much for us to do, and I am quickly going to share the journey which started from Argentina, enhanced in Japan, created more in Saudi Arabia, got the KPI and the measurement ideology in Italy, enhanced further in Indonesia, and today, 9 months of India, and we move on to share this journey. We built on a solid foundation, which is really an inspiration from the ministry and from our Prime Minister, that we will not do single development activities for women, but we will be guided by the ideology of women-led development for the country and a life course action, which begins from the time the child is in the womb. It's talking about protecting and preventing female feticide. It's health and nutrition, and we've made tremendous strides in that area. But it goes on to education, to skilling and digital inclusion, to financial inclusion, and multiple other schemes. In this year of presidency, we spoke about education, a game-changing pathway to women's empowerment, to enhance education in STEM and ensure that women are prepared for the world of the future. We work towards women entrepreneurship, whether it's women's parks, financial inclusion, business acceleration. And most importantly, we recognized that there are women leaders at every level, especially the grassroots. So whether it's initiative taken by the government, like Pani Saki, where a woman controls the water in a village, imagine the power and the leadership, and therefore the message to the community and the future. It's initiatives like this which inspired us, but also which have a voice in the playbook, which will continue for the world to see. All this could not have happened alone We had 5 outstanding working groups, the Corporate Women Empowerment Group, the Digital Inclusion, Financial Inclusion and Business Acceleration, Mentorship, Education and STEM. Each one of these groups were guided by chairs and co-chairs, every woman a leader in her own right, a think tank, a capable person who used this opportunity to bring forth the power of what can be, and to convert that opportunity, that capability and that vision into action, into guidelines, into playbooks, into digital platforms, so that this conversation that we're having here gets carried forth, amplified, and accelerated towards this common goal of equity. We were not just helped, but really co-founders or co-partners in this are all the co-chairs, chairs, and delegates from various countries. My grateful thanks to you for your continuous support, for your consent for every idea that we brought forth, and your ability to make that happen. Very quickly, I need to share the G20 initiatives, the multiple meetings that we had, both digital and in person, the fact that we were able to bring forth the Techquity platform, which the minister kindly launched, and you will hear more about. My thanks to Nivriti and that team for making this happen. Going on, Bill and Melinda Gates and many others who have made this happen. The mentorship platform, as was rightly stated by Mr. Subramaniam, has so much potential. And Anna, thank you, and Aditi ji, thank you. We both come together to create something of great significance, because research has shown very often that it's not money, it's not education, but it is somebody to say you are capable. It is a mentor which makes a difference. And Shafalika, thank you for holding this as well. I'm not really mentioning everyone who has contributed, but all these have come together in the new Empower website. This is now the property of all 20 countries, created in India to be a continuous platform. This platform will hold us together over the years, and I'm extremely happy that this platform shares inspirational stories. Like ma'am says, many who are not in this room but are making the difference outside. Aditi ji, a special thanks for all the help, the work at every stage, but especially you were the inspiration for inspirational stories. And I know that here we have, Indu Ben, who is a lady from Gujarat. We have stories from Argentina, we have stories from Brazil, we have multiple countries, so that people may click on this and share these and keep adding to this, because it is seeing an example and an inspiration that can bring the power of what we've put into the communique alive. I will end by sharing about the communique. The communique for the private sector talks about our commitments to what we will do. This has been shared by the advocates who have come forth to put this, by the Enhanced Pledge. It also carries recommendations for the government for collective progress for ensuring gender equity. Broadly, the communique covers under the game-changing pathway to women empowerment is education. So thoughts like strengthening the educational curriculum to make it future-ready, because women are at 17% higher risk of losing their jobs in the future economy than men because of the gaps in their knowledge and the type of jobs they work in. Investment in STEM and digital skilling, leveraging technology to scale this digital skilling and capacity building. Also building safe learning environments, and I want to thank Saudi Arabia. They are helping us in cybersecurity and ensuring this is something that's going to come into our platforms, and access through finance for loans, schemes, credit guarantees for underserved women. India, as the minister spoke about, has done an incredible amount of work in not just bringing them into the formal finance sector through the Jan Bhagyadari scheme, and we'll be talking about public assets and digital assets later in the day, because it is essential. Women who do not have physical assets on their name, we must find a way to enable them to get loans so that they may grow. It also speaks about entrepreneurship and multiple methodologies towards that. We speak about promoting women's leadership at all levels and policies and practices which can bring a gender lens into policy making, budgeting, and ensure gender diversity is captured in the metrics. It is critical for us, and this and many, many other methodologies to measure are captured in the KPI dashboard. Whether it is the proportion of women in senior and middle management, which is unfortunately still only at 26%, whether it is the female share of promotions or gender wage gap, when corporates begin to capture this data, we will improve what we can measure. And this year, I'm extremely happy to say that the KPI dashboard has introduced an addendum which will propose to capture the data on women in SME. Once we add women in SME and self-help groups, the data will truly be reflective of women who are driving the economy. The wonderful statistic that the minister shared is worth repeating. 8 million self-help groups, and their contribution to the economy is astounding. We will go steps closer towards that goal of contributing $28 trillion to the world economy. This is the power of equity. This is the power of capturing. And here what we've put together in the best practice playbook so that nobody needs to reinvent the wheel. The best practices from across the world are captured. And then, thanks to Accenture and Rekha, these have been digitized. So at the click of a button, you will know exactly which methodology you want to look at. Whether it's empowering women in the grassroots level, whether it's self-help groups, and I'm so happy that we're all here today in this city of Ahmedabad, which is not only the great leaders like Gandhiji and Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, but also our Honorable Prime Minister and the powerful movement of Amul, a self-help group that started in this city, can help enhance and grow and take the echo of this capability. I will end with a special thanks to our pledge advocates, because the advocates of corporate, of India, the advocates across the globe who have come together to take this pledge to ensure equity in their organization will be the most powerful step towards bringing equity across the working world. This pledge, while we took this pledge in Thiruvananthapuram, we did something which I would request everybody to please do as well. And we created this pledge which said, I, or women, empower. And we put this together. And I would request everybody to please do this for us, because this is a message or a photo that needs to go to everyone. So may I request everyone, please, ma'am. And as ma'am said, we request the men to do this first. So we empower. Can we please have everybody do we empower? Please do this. So we empower across the globe, across the country. Thank you, Ji. Thank you all so much. Let's give ourselves a big hand for publicly stating and creating an imagery and a symbol. So it's not just a word, it's not just a book, it's not just a document, it's every single one of us committing to make this happen because we empower. Thank you all very much for your tremendous support, for this resolute commitment, to elevate women's voices, to foster a future where equity, equality, and empowerment pave the way for a better and a more beautiful and a more prosperous and a happier world for everyone. Thank you all very much, and namaste.
Thank you very much, Dr. Reddy. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the close of the inaugural session. We thank the Honorable Chief Minister of Gujarat for his presence and his kind words, the Minister for Women and Child Development and Minority Affairs, Ms. Smriti Irani, Dr. Munchpara Mahendrabhai, the Honorable Minister of State for Women and Child Development, all of you, ladies and gentlemen. So give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you very much for joining us and continuing to be with us through this journey. As he takes leave of us, the Honorable Chief Minister, I'd like to request the international delegates, just the international delegates of G20 Empower, to please step outside for a group photograph with the Honorable Ministers. The space that we have allocated for this is near the registration desk, the Twitter wall there. Only the international delegates, please. The rest of you, please remain here. As I mentioned to you, we've got a tight schedule So we'd like to request you to kindly remain in the hall unless you need to step outside for a cup of tea or so. Please come back and take your places. G20 international delegates of Empower, please step outside for a quick photograph with the Honorable Minister. We're going to move on to the next session, which is the opening plenary session. Please be seated. Please be seated. Please be seated, ladies and gentlemen.